So this is 71-year-old Giselle Pilicot. She lives over in Avignon, France, and for the past decade she thought that she was experiencing Alzheimer's. Because for the past decade she'd been experiencing hair loss, fogginess, disorientation, as well as memory loss. Even going to the doctors, they couldn't find anything wrong with her, so they thought everything was psychological. It wasn't until September of 2020 when she found out that it wasn't Alzheimer's, but was something much more darker. So if you like true crime stories with a forensic analysis add on to it, go ahead and sit back and relax and enjoy today's story. And due to the nature of this story, viewer discretion is advised. Giselle had met her husband, Dominique Pilicot, who's also 71 years old, back in 1971. Now at that time, Dominique had worked as a technical sales agent for a fire alarm and computer equipment company. And 2 years after meeting, they both got married to one another back when they was 21 years old. And shortly after the wedding, they had 3 kids. They had 2 boys and 1 girl. They were David, Florian, and Caroline. Now, everybody would say that they were a devoted couple and a good family, but behind closed doors, Dominic was having financial problems. And the financial problem that he was having was that he was living outside of his means. There was a time period where Dominic's brother had said that he had loaned him 75,000 euros, but Dominic never paid it back. So in 2001, after Dominic's electrical engineering company that he had created had went bankrupt, both him and Giselle had gotten divorced, so that way Giselle was not affected by his debt. However, it was rumored to believe that the couple had maintained their relationship privately because in 2007, they had both gotten remarried to each other. Now, the couple ended up moving over to Mazin, France, which is a cozy little village at the foot of Mont Ventoux. Now, everybody believed that it was a harmonious household where they were middle class and live a very typical lifestyle. Now, the couple will retire in their 60s, so that way they can enjoy a much quieter pace and enjoy spending time with their grandchildren. Now, Dominic would spend his time going to local clubs as well as cycling on his racing bike, and Giselle would spend her time with her grandchildren as well as pottering in her garden. Now, one thing that their daughter Caroline would recall about her father is that he would spend a lot of time on his computer. Even with the children and grandchildren at the house, Dominic would sit at the computer all night long just vaping and being glued to the computer screen. But one thing they also noticed was that Giselle's health started deteriorating because Giselle would complain about fogginess, disorientation, and several occasions when she had memory loss. It had gotten so bad that she started convincing herself that she had Alzheimer's disease. The doctors would perform a brain scan on her, but still was at a loss because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And not just that, she was also experiencing gynecological problems, weight loss, and debilitating fatigue. And it wasn't until 2020 when the cause of all her symptoms came to light. Because in September of 2020, Dominique Pilicot was arrested, and the reason why he was arrested was for snapping pictures underneath women's skirts while at the supermarket. So after he was arrested, both his cell phone and all of his electronic devices were seized. And as the police went ahead and searched through all his electronic devices, they found one of the darkest things they have ever seen, because both on his phone and on his computer were over 20,000 pictures and videos of different men having their way with his wife while she was unconscious. Now, Giselle and her family didn't believe this because Dominic was known to be a well-caring and loving husband and family member. And it wasn't until police saw the footage when she started believing everything they was telling her. And not just that, she has no memory of any of these events happening. Now, once police had confronted Dominic with all of this evidence, he went ahead and confessed to everything that he did. He would go ahead to admit that he had drugged his wife with anti-anxiety medication until she passed out. And the reason why he was on the computer all the time was because he was chatting with different men to come to his house and assault his wife while she was unconscious. Now, Dominic had meticulously recorded, filed, and cataloged nearly a decade of abuse towards his wife. And not just that, he even told police that there was a hard drive underneath his printer that had all the information of the men that were involved. Now, the action that Dominic had been doing for the past 10 years is what is called a drug facilitated SA. Now, what a drug facilitated SA is when a victim is subjected to non-consensual acts due to being underneath the influence of alcohol or other substances, where they can therefore cannot resist nor consent to anything that's going on with them. So even though Dominic had confessed to everything, Giselle wanted this to go to trial because she wanted the world to know what happened to her, as well as have the men involved accounted for. Because it would come to find out that Giselle was assaulted over 94 times. So upon arresting Dominique Pilicot, they also arrested over 83 men. Now, the men that were involved came from different backgrounds. They came from either firefighters, masons, gardeners, prison guards, military personnel, and journalists. And they ranged from ages of 26 to 73. Now, 14 of the men that were arrested had pled guilty to the charges. However, over 50 of them pled not guilty because they felt they did nothing wrong, because they all said that they got consent to do so. Now, all this is being taken to trial, and expected this to be a very long trial because some of the testimony have already been taking place, where even Giselle had testified about what had been going on with her. Because at one point, Giselle had said that she had thought about taking her own life, because she said these men, as well as her husband, didn't just degrade her, but humiliated her. But thanks to the words of her family, she chose not to do so and decided to fight this. Now, one of her sons would go ahead and testify, saying that there were times where he thought something was going on, because at one point he actually went to the house for an evening dinner. And he said that during the dinner, he knows that his mom kept falling asleep at the dinner table. He would even say that she was swaying in her chair as if she was drunk. But he said he didn't think anything about it, because his dad would come up and just take the wife upstairs to the bedroom, saying that she wasn't feeling well and that he'll take care of her, pretending to be the doting husband. Giselle would even take the stand, saying that she felt that something was wrong because she started having health problems. She would even tell her husband that she needed to go to the doctor to get checked out for these unknown medical issues that she was having. And when she would go get checked out by the doctor, she had found out she had contracted STDs. She would later state that her husband would gaslight her, saying that, oh, who you been messing around with while I've been out? And the reason why he would gaslight her like this, because in the beginning of their relationship, she had cheated on him once with a friend, and every time she came up with a new symptom or STD, he would just say like, oh, you just been cheating on me then with somebody else. Even though the fact is that he was doing this to his own wife. Now, the 50 men that was involved in this case were going to say that they had no idea that she was unconscious, and that they would no force themselves on her, and that she had gave them consent to do so. And the reason why they believe that, because her husband would join in on them from time to time. Now, the reason why the claim was thrown out was because Giselle had caught 4 STDs and was exposed to HIV over 6 times. Dominique would also testify, saying that the men knew that she was unconscious before they came over, because it was talked about in their messages back and forth to one another. Dominique would also state that the reason for his actions was because back when he was 9 years old, he was assaulted when he was in the hospital by a male nurse. However, it is unclear if that story was even true, because when they did a background check on it, every nurse that worked that night was a woman. Now, as of right now, this case is still ongoing due to the number of men that are being charged. Some of them are still going through court, some of them already pled out, but there are still others that are unaccounted for. This case is set to last all the way up until December of 2024, which they would get the end result of. So that concludes our story for today. So what do you think? Do you feel that he is a monster for putting his wife through a decade of abuse and making her believe that she had Alzheimer's, as well as gaslighting her, saying that she's cheating on him? Go ahead and put your comments down below. And if you like more forensic analysis cases like this, go ahead and stay tuned to my channel, because there are more videos to come. And if you're new, go ahead and check out my previous videos.